Their worst mistake was attempting to escape from North Korea. What if I told you that there are people who have defied all obstacles to escape from the most secretive regime in the world? In this video, I'll take you on a fascinating journey through the stories of 10 brave individuals who challenged the impossible to find freedom. These are the 10 people who escaped from North Korea. The first story will surprise you. Kim Kwon, a former North Korean spy born in 1994, joined the Workers' Party of North Korea at an early age and rose through the ranks in the Korean People's Army. He became an intelligence officer and a member of Office 121, a powerful agency responsible for espionage, elimination, and foreign currency acquisition. Considered a loyal member of the regime, he enjoyed a privileged life. Throughout his career, Kim Kwon witnessed corruption, nepotism, and brutality within the regime. Disillusioned with the ideology, he concluded that the system was a failure and began to fear for his safety after some of his colleagues were purged in. 2015. Kim Kwon escaped from North Korea in 2015 with the help of a contact in China, crossing the border on foot in a dangerous journey. He finally reached South Korea, where he was granted asylum. Kim Kwon has become an outspoken critic of the North Korean regime, publishing a book about his 30 years in the North Korean espionage agency. He now advises the South Korean government on North Korea-related issues. Kan Chulan was born in 1968 in Pyongyang, North Korea. His family enjoyed a comfortable life due to his grandfather's position. At the age of 9, Kan's life changed dramatically when his family was accused of treason due to an incident unrelated to them. They were all sent to the Yodok concentration camp, including Kan, who was just a child. For a decade, he endured terrible conditions in the camp: hunger, forced labor, and more. His family also suffered under the system. His mother and brother died. This event plunged him into deep sadness, but also gave him the strength to attempt escape in 1992. After a harrowing journey, he crossed the border to South Korea, where he finally found freedom. Kan became a prominent human rights activist in North Korea, writing several books including The Aquariums of Pyongyang, where he narrates his experiences in the concentration camp. Jonah was born in 1983 in a North Korean village under a totalitarian regime. Her childhood was marked by poverty and constant fear of the government. At the age of 13, Jonah was forcibly recruited into the North Korean army, enduring brutal training, ideological indoctrination, and deprivation. Tired of this life, at 17, Jonah escaped from North Korea by crossing the border into China, facing unimaginable dangers and hardships. In 2007, she arrived in South Korea, where she found refuge and the opportunity to rebuild her life. Jonah became a leading human rights activist in North Korea, writing a book titled The Girl Soldier and delivering lectures worldwide. She dedicates her life to fighting for the freedom of the North Korean people, her testimony denouncing the totalitarian regime, inspiring those seeking a better future for North Korea. Shin Dong-hyuk was born in 1982 in the Yodok concentration camp, North Korea. He grew up in a family of political prisoners, experiencing the regime's atrocities from an early age. Shin witnessed torture, suffered hunger, diseases, and constant surveillance by guards. He was indoctrinated with the North Korean regime's ideology from a young age. In 2005, Shin managed to escape from the Yodok camp with his mother. They finally reached South Korea after a journey filled with dangers and difficulties, hiding from Chinese and Vietnamese authorities and facing the risk of being deported to North Korea. In South Korea, Shin has been able to rebuild his life and has become a human rights activist, advocating for the closure of Yodok camp and other concentration camps in North Korea. He has written a book about his experience as a prisoner and gives lectures worldwide to expose human rights violations in North Korea. Jang Hanjo was born in 1923 in North Korea. He was a high-ranking government official, ideologue of Kim Il-sung's regime, and one of the main architects of the Juche Doctrine. However, in 1997, he defected to South Korea, becoming the highest-ranking defector from the North Korean regime. Jang Hanjo held a position of great influence within the North Korean government, serving as Secretary of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea and President of the Supreme People's Assembly. He was considered the regime's chief ideologue and one of Kim Il-sung's closest collaborators. Jang Hanjo's decision to defect came after a period of disillusionment with the regime. He was disillusioned with the corruption and nepotism that characterized the government and concluded that the Yush system was a failure. The escape of Wang Hanangjop was carefully planned with the help of a contact in China. He managed to leave the North Korean embassy in Beijing and reach a safe place in South Korea. Jang Hanjo became an outspoken critic of the North Korean regime, publishing several books about his experiences and lecturing on the situation in his homeland. He also became a key advisor to the South Korean government on North Korea-related issues. Number 5. Tay Yong O was born in 1962 in North Korea. He studied at Kim Il-sung University and joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In 2016, while serving as North Korea's ambassador to the United Kingdom, he defected to South Korea with his family. Tay Yong O was a high-ranking diplomat with privileged access to information about the North Korean regime. However, he became disillusioned with the system over time and concluded that he could not continue serving a government that violated the human rights of its people. Tay Yong O decided to escape after his son asked him about the difference between life in North Korea and abroad. He did not want his son to grow up in a country without freedom or access to information. Tay Yong O's escape was carefully planned with the help of a contact in South Korea. He managed to leave the North Korean embassy in London and reach a safe place in South Korea. Tay Yong O has become an outspoken critic of the North Korean regime, writing a book about his experiences and lecturing on the situation in his homeland. Number 4. Han Jin-sun was a young poet and government official in North Korea. His life was relatively privileged compared to the majority of the population, but it was also repressed and controlled by the totalitarian regime. In 2004, Han Jin-sun decided to escape from North Korea. His journey was long, dangerous, and fraught with difficulties and risks, but he finally arrived in South Korea in 2005. His escape was successful, but not without a high cost. He had to leave behind his family and friends in North Korea and lives in constant fear of being captured by the regime. Han Jin-sun has written a book about his experience, Dear Leader, My Escape from North Korea 2014. The book is a gripping and poignant account of his journey and offers an unusual glimpse into life in North Korea. He has also worked with international organizations to help other North Korean defectors. Number 3. Min Chol was born in 1957 in North Korea. He was a senior government official with privileged access to information about the regime. However, after witnessing the brutality of the system, he decided to escape to South Korea. Min Chol held a position of responsibility within the North Korean government, witnessing the corruption and oppression that characterized the regime. He concluded that he could not continue to be part of a system that violated the human rights of its people. Min Chol's decision to escape was solidified after witnessing the public execution of a defector. At that moment, he realized he could not continue living in a country where human life had no value. His escape was a long and dangerous process. He crossed the border into China on foot and then traveled through several Southeast Asian countries before reaching South Korea. In South Korea, Min Chol has become a human rights activist, publishing a book about his experience in North Korea. He has also worked with international organizations to help other North Korean defectors. Min Chol has provided testimony about the atrocities of the North Korean regime. His experiences have helped raise awareness worldwide about the situation in the country and the need for change. Number 2. Gianme Park was born in 1993 in North Korea. She grew up in a poor family and experienced the hardships of daily life under the North Korean regime. At the age of 13, she witnessed the public execution of her uncle, which deeply affected her. Gianme Park witnessed famine, lack of freedom of expression, and the regime's propaganda. She observed how the government controlled all aspects of life, from education to religion. In 2007, Gianme and her mother escaped from North Korea by crossing the border into China. After a long and dangerous journey through China, Mongolia, and Vietnam, they finally arrived in South Korea. Gianme Park's escape was a traumatic experience. They had to face hunger, cold, exploitation, and the risk of being captured by authorities in China. They were victims of human traffickers who forced them to work in precarious conditions. In South Korea, Gianme Park has been able to rebuild her life. She has become a human rights activist and a renowned author, writing a book about her experience as a North Korean defector and lecturing worldwide to denounce human rights violations in North Korea. Number 1. Jeon Seo-lee was born in 1979 in Jeosan, North Korea. She grew up in a middle-class family, and during her childhood experienced the hardships of life under the North Korean regime. At the age of 17, she made the decision to escape the country. Jeon Seo-lee witnessed famine, lack of freedom of expression, and the regime's propaganda. She observed how the government controlled all aspects of life, from education to religion. Additionally, she experienced discrimination for being the daughter of a trader. In 1997, Gianme Park and her older sister escaped from North Korea by crossing the border into China. After a long and dangerous journey through China, Mongolia, and Vietnam, they finally arrived in South Korea. Gianme Park's escape was a traumatic experience. They had to face hunger, cold, exploitation, and the risk of being captured by authorities. In China, they were victims of human traffickers who forced them to work in precarious conditions. In South Korea, Gianme Park has been able to rebuild her life. She has become a human rights activist and a renowned author, writing a book about her experience as a North Korean defector and lecturing worldwide to denounce human rights violations in North Korea. In her book, The Girl with 7 Names, Gianme Park narrates her personal story of escape and survival. The book has been translated into several languages and has touched millions of readers around the world. These brave individuals' stories inspire us to fight for freedom and human rights.